Hello, my beautiful people. It is I, it is her, it is she, it is Coach. And Coach is here to talk to you today about something that is very important to me. And it is something that I love to share with you, okay? I don't know if you ever knew this, but I, Coach, used to suffer from vertigo. And I know a lot of us beautiful people out here in this world, we suffer from vertigo. And it is something that is the most detrimental piece of life. It takes so much out of you. And you sometimes feel alone, and you sometimes feel scared, and you sometimes feel that no one understands you. And then most importantly, how I felt was, why is this happening to me? So I want you to understand that this is not your fault. I also want you to understand that it is something that just happens because of imperfection of our bodies. And what I come to know is that it is something that you can maintain. It is something that you don't have to feel ashamed of. And it is something that you're not alone in, okay? So when I was diagnosed with vertigo back in 2003, it was one of the most detrimental times of my life. I was living in the Carolinas and I was alone, and I did not understand why this was happening to me. I couldn't even understand how this was happening to me. I was literally in the house, just, doing my regular runabout type of day, and all of a sudden, the room literally started to spin. I mean, it was spinning so fast, and I was just like, what is happening? What's going on? And I was so scared because it was just me and my two girls. And my son was in school, and I'm just like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And I was just so scared because I didn't know what was happening. And the only thing I could think of is that maybe it was because I was eating carrots, right? And I just was like, I'm eating these carrots. Maybe I need to stop eating these carrots because that's what started this dizziness in my head. And I immediately remember calling my brother for help because we lived in the Carolinas and he lived maybe 10 minutes from my home. And I called him and I was like, something's wrong and I don't know what else to do. And I am literally in panic mode. And of course, I didn't know what to do because it's never happened to me before. It never happened to me. So how could something that never happened to me before be so detrimental and take over my life in an instant? And that's what happened. It took over my life in an instant. So I am here to tell you that this is something that a lot of us deal with. This is something that a lot of us live with, and we are so quiet and we are so hush hush and we don't talk about it because there is no one that probably understands us, and we think that we're alone because who else is going through this? Who else is going to really say, oh hey, I get dizzy, and hey, I'm just sorry I just get dizzy? Nobody, because no one feels the need to talk about it because so many people are silent about it. But when that happened to me in 2003, I was on the mission first to never let it happen again. And then second, to find out why it happened. And then third, to stop it from happening again. That was my mission. That was my most important mission. And that's all I cared and thought about all the time. Because in my mind, the way that my mind is set up, and I don't know if your mind is set up like this, but the way my mind is set up is when something happens once, it's 9 times out of 10 going to happen to me again. I just don't know when. So I'm always on high alert, right? And I don't know how to stop the high alert because I'm always on, why is this happening? So long story short, goes to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you have vertigo. What is that? Oh, it's when your inner ear just comes out, and the piece in your inner ear is like a little rock, and the little rock comes out and the little rock starts floating around, and then you just get unbalanced, and then it just goes back on its own, and then you balance it out. That's what they told me. That was their reasoning of vertigo. And I said, okay, that makes sense. Maybe there is something inside the inner ear that I never even thought about. Like, how could God create me with something in my inner ear that can just come out and just be floating around like it's supposed to be, just be floating? Like, why are we doing that? I don't like that to happen, right? So I said, it's not for me to question. It's just for me to find out how I can fix it. So from 2003 all the way to 2014, I had about maybe, I want to say 5 spurts, right? And then When I moved back to my hometown, I realized that it had stopped a little bit, right? And then I realized that with it stopping, COVID hit, and that was in 2019. COVID hit, right? And COVID was the most damaging element to all Americans, all humans. Any human being that has breath in its body was affected by COVID. Even if it didn't happen to your family, even if it didn't happen to you personally, it was something that touched every person on this planet. And so when 2019, when COVID hit, like the ending of November, going into January of 2020, around March and April, I started to realize I was getting vertigo again. And I didn't know why it was happening, because I wasn't doing anything but just being a mom. That's all I was doing, was working and being a mom. That's it. And I realized that this thing keeps happening to me, and it just keeps happening, and I wanted to stop. So long story short, I went and got some help. I enlisted me a therapist, because I'd said, maybe it's just me. Maybe something's wrong with my brain. Maybe something's going on up on top of my head that I don't understand what it is. And so as I'm speaking to my therapist, and, I'm telling her when these things are occurring, and she's listening to me, and I'm speaking to her, and I'm telling her, and we're having session after session after session after session, and I'm telling her, and session after session, and I'm telling her, she finally says that any event that's out of the normal gives you anxiety, which equals your vertigo. Well, ain't that something? Because when I moved to the north, I moved down to the Carolinas, that was an event. I was away from everyone in my family except for my brother and my dad. My brother and my dad, they lived down in the Carolinas, but I was down there with them, but I wasn't with them all the time. I was so used to seeing my mom every single day or every other day. She was like my go-to person, and she was my helper. She helped me with my children, so she was my go-to person. And it was like me and her had this great connection, and she was the person that I always depended on. So when I didn't have my mom, and I was down here in these Carolinas, it hit me. And so when I came back, it stopped, right? I came back to my hometown. I'm closer to my mom. It stops. Then COVID hits, right? A situation that's totally out of my control. I have no control over it. I can't even stop it. And because it's detrimental and it's hurting so many people and it's taking so many lives, I'm feeling so sad and so depressed and so sorry for everyone that's going through the process, right? And so because of I'm feeling it, because everyone's going through this process of just COVID being COVID, it hit again. And this time it hit with me having anxiety, and it hit with me having vertigo, and me feeling lonely, sad, depressed, all alone, and no one understanding me, because how can I possibly talk about this to anybody? How can I possibly tell anyone what's going on? How can I possibly share with my husband, who is the person who loves me and adores me the most? How can I tell him that, hey, your wife is a little loony over here, okay? And I don't know why. So I had to take control. I had to figure out a way. And as I was going through my health and wellness journey, and as I was embarking on this great journey of life, and really understanding that life is precious and I have to treasure it to every aspect of its entity there is, I can't let life stop me from living. And so as COVID continues on, we're in a lockdown and everything is happening. Life is still going on. Relationships are still happening. People still have to work and provide for their families. Life was really happening. And it was happening so much for me because I was actually working from home with my job. My kids were home. They're being homeschooled now because everybody's out in the public. Can't go out in the public because everybody's in the house. But my husband is now out here in the streets, and he still has to work because he's an essential worker. He still has to work because he's needed in the world. He still has to go out here and face the facts that, is he coming home today? Is what's going to happen? So as I'm going through all these emotions in my life, COVID is still real. My husband is out in the streets. My vertigo is still happening. I'm trying to take full control of my life. And that's when I realized that I have the power and no one else can do that for me. So I went into a deep prayer, right? I started to pray. I started to pray uncontrollably. I started to pray just because I just didn't even know what to do anymore. And as I'm praying, I'm crying and I'm praying and I'm crying and I'm praying and I'm crying. And I just want it to stop. And I just want God to help me stop it. And so something says to me, you know, I just get the feeling that you are a freaking health coach. Your mission is health. You know health. If you don't know anything else, you know for a fact that the body can heal itself if given the right nutrients all the time. Now, of course, that's simple. I mean, body can heal itself if given the right nutrients all the time. But who's really doing that all the time when you're stressing, you're depressed, you're crying, you got life happening, and it's just not fun, right? And you are binge eating. I mean, I'm binge eating. I'm just going through life because it's so hard, right? So I eventually start concocting juices. I start putting every type of vegetable together. I start putting every type of fruit with a vegetable, every type of turmeric and a ginger. I'm just putting these things together. I haven't even tasted how this stuff tastes. I don't even care how it tastes. I just need something to happen. So as I'm going through the process and I'm making it, I've realized that with time, I'm feeling more energetic. With time, I'm not as anxious. With time, I'm not feeling the vertigo. With time, it's like boom, bop, and it stops. So I'm doing something great here. I'm figuring it out. And with time, I figured it out. And so this right here is Dizzy Me Not. Dizzy Me Not, meet the world. World, say hello to Dizzy Me Not. This is the best juice I have ever made for myself. And this will be the best juice that I think everyone will make for themselves. Now, I don't sell this juice on the marketplace. I don't have one concocted inside of a jar for you. I don't do that. No, I don't do that. But this juice has all of the nutrients that I need to keep me sane. And it also has all the nutrients to help me balance out everything that's happening in my body. Now, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a specialized scientist or anything like that. And I can't say that what works for me is going to work for you. But what I can tell you is vertigo is very uncomfortable. It's the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever dealt with in my entire existence. It's the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I don't like when it happens. So as of today, I can truly honestly say that I have had little to no episodes of vertigo. And when I say little to none, I mean literally, if something is happening, it's a quick second and it stops. Versus when something happened, the room is spinning, I'm at the hospital, the doctors are trying to hydrate me, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on. It's not like that anymore. So I want to let you know that it is possible. And I want you to understand that you're not alone. I want you to understand that there are so many nutrients out here in this world that can heal your body, at least give you hope to healing things that are wrong, only if you take the proper time to actually fill your body with the proper nutrients. So Dizzy Me Not is available for you to try. Here's the kicker. You have to actually make it yourself. So you have to go to the supermarket and you have to gather all the nutrients to figure out if this is something that you want to keep in your regimen, if this is something that you want to keep in your life, if this is something that you can actually start to utilize because it has helped me and it is something that has helped me for years. And it is a great juice. And it's all natural. There's no chemicals. There is only plants inside of this juice. Everything is from the earth, and that is it. So in the link below, you can click on the link to get Dizzy Me Not. It is delicious, it is fulfilling, it is hydrating, and it helps combat the vertigo that happens in our brains that keeps us stuck from living life. And I can tell you every day, this is my go-to. Every day I drink it. Every day, same time, same place, same back channel. I have it. I take it with me wherever I go. If I am on vacation, I make sure that I can go to a supermarket and gather the nutrients and make it myself. You need a blender and you need the ingredients, and everything is below. On top of that, I have also included 5 other great. Beat Me Up is another one. It's great. Okay. Pineapple My Love is another one of my juices. So these juices are juices that are from my heart. And this is what I feel when I'm eating and drinking fruits and vegetables. But most importantly, this is what I want you to take away. You're not alone. Stop thinking that you're alone, because you're not. It happens to so many of us that it's not even funny. And it's happening more often than not. And some people are diagnosed with vertigo. Some people are just diagnosed with anxiety. Some people are just diagnosed with just things that we have no control over, so we think. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of wanting better and just wanting it to stop, you find this inner strength. You find this inner power that's inside of you, and you start fighting back. You start fighting you against you, because that's literally what's happening. It's you against you. And the more you fight for you, the better you'll feel. The more empowered you'll feel. The healthier you'll feel. Because it literally starts with the food you put in your body. So again, I am Coach Yolanda. I'm here to help anyone that needs help. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you gather this thing called life and empower yourself to being the best human that you can possibly be by living a long, sustainable, healthy life by including plants and vegetation and fruits and grains from the earth. That is the best way to live. And even if you just can't seem to give up those things that you love most, as long as you are 90% incorporating life sustainable foods, that 10% is okay, because you're not perfect. You are definitely imperfect. But Dizzy Me Not is my friend, and I want Dizzy Me Not to be your friend too. And you can get Dizzy Me Not in the link below. This is Coach, and you can always reach me at coachyolanda@gmail.com, and we can have a full-fledged discussion. You can also go to my website, which is rockanddropfitness.com, where you can get more insight as to who I am and what I do and how I help you. I want you to have a phenomenal day. Do you know why, honey? Do you know why? Because you are above ground. And for that, you have to be thankful.